Hello everyone. Today I am going to be filming my May wrap-up. May seriously just flew by for me. I finished my first year in college on the 13th, and then I went to BookCon and I worked, and it was just very busy. But then it got to May 31st and I'm like, that's right, I have to film my May wrap-up, and I still haven't filmed my May book haul yet. So I'm gonna be doing both of those today. Not in the same video, but filming at the same time. Okay, you get it. June just crept up on me and I was not prepared. So that's why I'm late for both of these again. It's a slippery slope. I'm telling you, it's a slippery slope. I keep on saying I'm gonna put my wrap-ups in the actual month, but I never do. But I'm not gonna fret about that. I'm just gonna move on. So, unfortunately, I only read 2 books in May. That's okay, I'm just gonna jump in to the books I read. The first book I read in May was Endora by Sarah B. Larson. This is the 3rd book in the Defy trilogy. It's a fantasy trilogy, and the main character has to pretend that she's a boy with her twin brother, and they go to the king's palace and they have to be guards for the prince. She has to keep her identity a secret because otherwise she'll be sent away from the castle. And there's just a lot in this trilogy. There's a lot more than just that. I read Defy probably in 8th grade, maybe freshman year. And I really, really loved it. I loved it so much. It was so good. It was one of my favorite books at the time. I think it was last year, actually. I reread the first one because I wanted to read the second one that came out. And I wasn't too much of a fan of the first one again. I thought it was okay. And then the second one was okay as well. And I think it mostly is because I just gotten older. They're definitely YA. They definitely have a lot of themes that aren't really for younger people, I feel like. For this book, it still had the breeding house in it, which was one of my main issues with the other 2 books. And it just really creeps me out. I hate how they have that in there, and I find it really unnecessary to have that in these books. But when I read this one, it just was okay. It was very flat for me. I liked the relationship in this book, but everything else was kind of dull to me. I don't want to spoil really anything that happened in this 3rd book, but a ton of people died, and it just didn't really make sense. I was not a huge fan of this. I gave it about a 2.5, maybe a 3 star. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I read all 3 of these books when I was younger, but reading them now, I just wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm glad I read this last one because I feel like if I didn't read this one now, that I would have never picked it up. So I'm glad that I read it and I finished the trilogy. The second book that I read in May was Renegade by Erica Stevens. This is the 2nd book in the Captured series. I'm not really sure what the series is called, but there's a lot of books out for it, and I read Captured last year and I loved it. It was so good. And this second one was good, but it wasn't as good as the first one, in my opinion. Kind of a funny story, actually. Last year, I was in a bit of a reading slump. It was at the end of the year. I just was not reading a lot, and I got Captured free on ebook, and it sounded really good. It's essentially about a girl father is part of the rebels for the humans, and this girl gets captured to be a blood slave for the prince of vampires. That's basically the premise of the first book, but it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. After reading that book, I got out of my reading slump. And then this year, I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I didn't have a reading slump, but I had a huge book hangover, and I just could not find what I wanted to read. So I decided to pick up Renegade, the 2nd book. Maybe that would get out of my book hangover, and it did. So anytime I'm in a reading slump or anything like that, I'm gonna pick up the next book in this series because it always seems to get me out of it. Otherwise, it was very, like, sappy. The relationship was so weird. I really just don't understand it because it's very weird. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's very, very, like, gushy kind of romance. The two characters are obsessed with each other. The girl cries all the time for no reason when he says something nice to her, and he gets very protective over her, and just, it's almost like the mating bond in A Court of Mist and Fury, but, like, 10 times more 24/7. I wasn't a huge fan. I still really like the characters together, and I'm not saying that I don't want them to be together, but it's just very over the top, and it wasn't very natural. If they just cared about each other and really loved each other, then that would be more natural, but it just was weird. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, maybe a 3.75, but probably more a 4. I still really did enjoy it, and like I said, it got me out of my book hangover, so I did like it, and I thought it was pretty good. And I will be continuing on with the rest of the series at some point. Here is the 2 books I read in May. It's kind of sad, but that's okay. Hopefully June will be a better reading month. It's my birthday, June 3rd. That's my birthday, so hopefully I read more. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to, and I will talk to you next time. Bye! The first book I read in May was Endora. I don't know how to say it. Renegade by Erica Larson. Nope, that's not it.